Welcome back, everybody, to the CF Podcast. Clint here today, and we've got Ryan with us.
What's up, guys?
We've got Kaya.
What's going on, guys?
And we've got Matt.
What's going on?
And today we thought we'd bring you a fun, quick little conversation about, well, each other's go-to rifles and how we have them set up. And we can call them builds if you want, but at the end of the day, I think it's only really Matt and Ryan that actually built theirs from the ground up from stripped receivers, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think I've bought a fully assembled rifle.
Matt?
Ever.
Wait. Like, hold on, time out. You don't think you've ever bought like a fully assembled AR
No,
ever?
I don't think so.
That's impressive.
So you build ARs? It's like, well, you know what happens when you're an AK guy and you realize that, you know what, AKs, there's something better out there, and you start building ARs. So
No. I mean, I definitely think that ARs are like adult Lego sets. They're really fun to put together.
They are.
That doesn't mean that I think it's better than an AK, though. But I mean, it's just a fantastic. We work in an industry where we just have these access to gun parts, and how could you not decide? You know, I got another weekend project to take care of. You know?
I'm with you, dude.
it is
100%.
so much fun.
Dude, I mean, it was a lot of fun when we did that AR build series, right? And, you know, Alec came in with looking like the grease monkey, you know what I mean?
One of my favorite intros of all
He
time.
was like, hold on, I'll be right back. And he's like, dude, we got to go. We got places to be. Like, what are you talking about? And he comes in, and that, like, you see our genuine reactions. Like, dude, that was some funny shit.
Amazing. That was just incredible.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, when's this
throw it up.
podcast coming out? Because will the bolt gun series be completed by then?
Yeah, it'll be completed.
So, you know, the bolt gun series just ended, and I guess it was a couple of years ago, we did our AR build series, and we had, you know, out of the box, we had, you know, let's just say the most affordable option all the way up to that high tier, $6,000 AR. That's ridiculous, but man, I miss it. Whoever won that, I hope you're enjoying it. But anyway, so let's actually, Matt, I am curious. So would your go-to rifle be one of your builds, or is it going to be an AK?
So if you're saying like, what's my one go-to rifle that I would grab in case of
The
anything?
shit has hit the fan.
Yeah.
If you want to survive, grab the AR.
I mean, so from a practical standpoint, I think that the AR is something that I'm going to be able to resupply, find parts for in a without rule of law scenario.
Sure.
It'd be really hard for me to grab that over, say, my Bulgarian AK-74, though. But I have lots of fond memories of building and shooting my various ARs. I tend to stay toward the less expensive side of the pool when it comes to budgeting this, mostly just so you could do it a little bit more often.
Yeah.
But I've got some builds I think are really cool. Like I have a registered SBR in 9mm using a CMMG upper. Different.
You don't have
calibers.
to say registered. You can.
Okay, but
We'll just let everybody assume.
But for clarification,
Yeah.
it is though.
Some
But,
people will assume
I mean,
something else.
But yeah, 308, which should technically be an AR-10, 7.62x39 because it is God's caliber, and 6.5 Grendel, which I think might be one of the more interesting builds that I've done.
6.5 Grendel.
Yeah.
So is that your favorite of the AR category?
I think it may be. So I really like 7.62x39, but 6.5 Grendel I think just works better in the AR platform. The problem is the AR platform is not a super compatible 7.62x39 platform. Just the way the magazine well works, you have to have a straight mag well, and the AK bullets have to curve in the magazine, right? So 6.5 Grendel gives you a little bit better, I think, performance out of the AR platform, and it's much better than 5.56.
So how do you feel about something like the CMMG Mutant?
Yeah. Well, I can't
The
call it
Resolute.
that. The
Mark 47.
Resolute.
Yeah.
As
Gotta
most
get it
people
right.
know as the Mutant.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of interesting things out there like that, right? So, things where we are adapting one platform to be better with another, where you can get a modified lower or something to use the actual AK mags or something. And certainly those are all very interesting. Out of the attempts to do that, I think the Mark 47 is probably the most successful because they went with that intermediate sized lower receiver. So it's not quite an AR-10 size. It's not quite an AR-15 size. It's in the middle. And that gave them a lot of more flexibility. But then you lose all the parts commonality. One of the cool things about having an AR is that you can find the parts everywhere.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's that AR-10, AR-15 hybrid bolt.
Yeah. So,
that makes sense.
But I mean, certainly when it comes to the idea of being a beefy, robust system that can handle the larger caliber, it's a great solution without having to go all the way up to an AR-10 size that you just don't need.
Yeah, SIG, they came out with the Spear LT chambered in 7.62x39, and they say that, hey, we made sure that the 7.62x39 model LTs aren't just a 5.56 gun with a 7.62 bolt and barrel. They said, no, we actually made sure that this is going to run with 7.62x39 magazines. It's going to feed flawlessly, and it's going to be a reliable firearm. And I mean, heck, we offered one here at CF Contest, and it ran pretty dang good, So it's like, all right, that's interesting, So there are more more manufacturers, I think, that are waking up and seeing just how sought after 7.62x39 is, and they're making, they're making firearms are going to shoot it and feed it reliably. So pretty cool. Kyle, what's you've had U.S. Arms Co. You've had the ADM over there. I know you've got a couple of different setups. Which one right now is kind of like, hey, if you hear that again, I'll say it again, that shit hits the fan scenario. What are you picking up? What are you running?
Well, right now the ADM, right?
Yeah.
I do have my MMP-15 that I built. That it's been with me for 10 years, and I got it as is, just with MacPool furniture and stuff. But I kind of built that up, changed things around. And the old school where the front sight post just stands up, right? No, just irons. Cut all that out. 15-inch handguard, UTG handguard, and all that, and just attach myself a Surefire light and my dot and magnifier and everything. Just built that up, and that's at home right now. I never brought that in.
UTG handguard with Surefire.
Yeah.
That was my
Interesting
thought
choice.
too.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. At that time, like what I know now, I knew.
Dude,
I don't know much right now.
I am all for it. Again, I play in that end of the pool. Okay?
I literally I was like, I want to get Surefire was good. Actually, I had one additional one on duty. I was like, okay, I like Surefire. That's good for rifles. Got the handguard. I think I got that handguard. The suggestion of another officer that I work with. I don't remember. It was 10 years ago. I put it all together, and it's still in the same configuration. I love it, and I use it on patrol, so it's got a lot of sentimental value for me. And that thing has never failed me. So it is by my bed every day to this day. It's a 16-inch barrel. Man, I put a muzzle device on it too. I forgot. It's been a long time. Like Diamatize? Some weird name, some weird company. And it worked great. A little loud, but it mitigated the recoil a lot. So that's at home right now. However, if SHFT, like a shit hits a fan, got my ADM. Can I show it or no? No.
I mean, you can pull it out.
show it.
Yeah, you can pull it out. If it's, people listening, they're not going to be able to see, so just make sure you're,
exactly.
talking about it.
We'll talk about it. Yeah. So
Speaking of
anybody
which,
who's
if you
watching,
want to watch this, go to YouTube.
That's right.
That's right. Yes. Right now, it's in this configuration. Quite honestly, I have that what was that light? Cloud Defensive light. That's on my U.S. Arms Co. I'll be adding another one over here, the D-ball, and I do have my Mac 3X magnifier and a red dot with a QD attachment mount here, radiant charging handle, and overall, just ADM is obviously amazing. I do have a trigger over here that's not available yet. The Mac trigger.
Coming soon, type
Coming
of thing?
soon, hopefully.
Okay.
I think it's going to be probably just waiting for permissions, right? It's going to take maybe a few more months. But that's about it. This is the gun. And the reason I like, also Surefire suppressor.
That's a nice suppressor. That thing looks familiar.
Wait. Let me see. Yeah, you've seen it around because I've been carrying it on my gun.
That's why. Okay.
That's it.
All right, it's Ryan's suppressor. I got it. Fine. But no, this is the setup. And this gun, I sincerely mean this, and I'm not being sponsored by ADM. This is probably one of the nicest ARs that I've actually fired.
Dude, that
It's
thing
incredible.
is sweet, man. It's nice and lightweight, 13.9 pinned and well with the Surefire War Comp. So yeah, so it's, if you're gonna pin and weld a muzzle device to something, make it something desirable,
Yeah.
at least I would hope. Then again, if you also, so some people might not be that big of a deal because they might have a gunsmith nearby where they can unpin and weld it for you and then pin and weld whatever muzzle device you want, or they can unpin and weld it for you and throw on whatever you want without pinning and welding it because you plan on SBRing it anyway. So I do like that they went ahead and took that additional step to do that though. So that way you can throw on your Surefire silencer, which makes sense to make it a Surefire because they are a very popular, suppressor manufacturer. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Hint for the rest of the guns, they're not Surefire.
Yeah, which is really funny.
I know.
So
Well,
keep
that
in
makes
mind,
sense.
it's hard to future-proof that, right? Like, okay, it can be a popular brand now,
Right.
but it's going to be hard to predict, okay, well, who's going to be the leading innovator down the road? So
Yeah, who knows what might happen 5 years down the road when some company that creates this flow-through technology hits the market.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be wild.
But yeah, that's about it, guys, for me. I mean, it's just something very simple. It's not as decked out as obviously your Daniel Defense and obviously your LWRC. Well, that's ADM.
That's ADM.
That is ADM,
Yeah,
exactly.
so that's a good progression.
Yeah.
Because I thought I really thought you were going to bring your LWRC out. You brought the ADM out.
No, so this
two
is
ADMs on the table, not sponsored by ADM. by any
no, by
means.
no means. Not
ADM,
sponsored by
please.
anyone for this.
Not sponsored. Yeah,
If you
literally
wanna-
not sponsored by
if
anyone.
you want to sponsor ADM, I'll be very happy to talk all the time about your product.
Oh my god!
Somebody take his microphone. All right.
chill.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get that out of here. Anyways, no. So yeah, it is an ADM lower. So the reason I brought this one in specifically is because it did start as a stripped lower. It was the ADM4 lower, so it doesn't have kind of
Your
yours
little
has those
cuts and
cuts in the
glue.
lower.
That's right. Yeah.
I wanted mine just to be kind of like that M4 style, like you see
Simple.
that slate side, so I went with that. It has a little bit of like some enhanced like flared magwell, kind of a little bit to it. That just comes with the ADMs. Overall, the I guess it was stripped, right? But the one thing they do install is that ambient bolt catch bolt release.
Yeah, I can imagine that probably being a little complicated, a little bit more complicated, and they just go ahead and make it a little bit easier for you, which is pretty cool. That
It was.
And I gotta say too, I mean, I'm running an ambi gun also, but there's no denying ADM did it right with their ambi bolt / catch
Yep,
release.
yeah.
And they did it right 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not
Before
even
it was
a new
cool.
lower. Yeah, exactly. And now everybody's doing this. But anyway, so let's see. The upper is a Ultor, the Ultor.
VL-Tor, BCM.
Ultor, yeah, one of those. Exactly. Got a Ripcord Industries LDR1 before the new ones came out, the rails.
So that's like the guys the URGI, right?
Exactly.
But better.
Mark 16, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. But better, right?
Exactly.
I
So
mean,
you can't really see it. Like we don't have like zoom in cameras, but basically it's the Mark 16 rail with that center area of the rail. It's kind of like one piece of aluminum. So instead of having those M-Lock
Cuts.
in that centerpiece, it's just aluminum. So that it just helps the rigidity and strength of the rail.
because
So-
apparently, like the URGI rails, I mean, they were having some issues with like bending, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so
Bill might know something about that.
yeah, but again, I'm not talking shit about Geisley. I'm just saying, like, hey, they make a great product, they really do. But when it comes to certain weaknesses, one weak point was in the middle of the rail, and so what Ripcord Industries ultimately did was say, hey, nobody really mounts anything right here in the middle on the side of their gun. So let's just go ahead and eliminate those M-Lock rail slots, which again, those are literally holes in your rail. So let's just eliminate those.
Helps the rigidity.
Yeah.
And what's the trade-off? All right, so it's fractions of an ounce heavier, and you have slightly less airflow through there as far as cooling effect or something. But I mean, if you can make it stronger,
It is stronger.
And when I say rigidity too, it's not just the strength of the actual rail itself, but it's also helping with holding zero for night vision or something else.
Yeah.
Ironically, as you can see, there is no night vision at the end of mine. I do not own any night vision, any nods, PVS 14s,
Just an
31s.
I mean, AGM.
Yeah, AGM, you got any industry discount there, bud?
So I don't do it for the aesthetics. If I don't own night vision, then
Sure.
I don't
Then
need
it doesn't
anything on
make
the end.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that
would-
PVS 14. That's why I got that one.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
got my monotube also.
I would love to put something on the end, and eventually that will be the plan. But as of right now, it is just a mod light at the end. Coming back a little bit further, it's a Surefire pressure pad on it. Yeah, I got that Lunar Concepts hot pocket heat wrap on it because M-Lock gets hot. Doesn't even matter if you don't have those kind of cuts in there. It's going to get hot.
And those who are
regardless.
listening right now, Ryan's build, like the gun is so good. Every time we go to the range, anytime he brings it,
Feels amazing. Yeah.
I just grab that gun as if it's mine. I just dump some mags. It is it's definitely nicer than my ADM. I mean, I'll say it out loud. Like, it is way nicer. Like, that thing shoots incredible. Like, it's so tastefully done. You got to shoot it to understand what I'm trying to say here.
And it is
Well done.
similar in a lot of ways. For example, ADM, they use a Criterion Core 13.9-inch barrel. I use the same thing, mid-length gas system, same thing there. The big thing is that I use a Black River tactical gas tube on it.
Okay.
So that gas tube is kind of they make gas tubes that are positioned, I should say, tuned for whatever suppressor that you want to use, and the length system and everything else. So with this, I added a flow at the end.
Yeah.
Originally, I did have an RC2. Kai's over there.
I just pick up what's left.
Kai
got the
is
scraps.
over there. But once Huxworth came out the flow 556K, I was like, I'm going to get that pendant welded on the end and then get that flow at the end there. And there's just barely any gas back to the face.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I mean, the back pressure is nothing on this can. But overall, love this thing. Oh, also, Ultor, Vieltor. I can't remember how to pronounce her
Vieltor.
name.
I think it's
Yeah.
Vieltor. I mean, it looks like a V, but it might be like that Roman V.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
a U. Ultor.
Ultor A5 system in it, so that's a different system than your typical buffer tube.
Yeah,
so
like
it's a
your
little
Mosaic,
bit
whatever.
extended, and it helps with bolt bounce if you're shooting full auto, something else. It also helps with just the feel of the bolt coming back and forth. So yeah, it is a rifle length buffer in here, and yeah, that's it. Love this thing.
That's a soft
It's-
shooting gun.
It's sweet, man. So what optic choice did you go with? And also charging handle and all that stuff?
Yeah, I love this. We're getting like super deep into it. Yeah,
Yep.
so the Geisley charging handle.
Same.
Clint and I love these things, and
Dude,
it is because we just
tested
did
them.
we did scientific testing on them. We put a suppressor on the end, a very gassy RC2
Yeah.
with a 10.3 Mark 18 upper, and tested the gassiness. And man, that Geisley won. And it's not supposed to be a suppressor like tuned charging handle necessarily.
And
But it
and you
works.
can go back and so that video we tested Dana Defense's charging handle. We tested Geisley. We tested PRI. We tested Radian.
I thought the PRI was going to win.
I did too. I mean, it's like made for that.
Yeah, the
and we-
Radiant SD specifically.
The Radiant
too.
SD
Yeah.
specifically. Yep, the silenced one. There was one more, wasn't there? There wasn't there like a
was.
fifth one. I don't remember who it was now.
Those are
but,
the big ones, though.
But those were the big ones, and Geisley really impressed us with what we got, and that's why any gun that I'm running suppressed now, you'll probably notice I've got a Geisley. What is it? A super charging handle?
Super. There's
There-
airborne.
There's super everything, dude.
Yeah, super, you're so right. It is super.
It's all Geisley super something, you know. And yeah, the charging handles just are magic. They do such a good job, and they feel good too. Which is
Speaking
nice.
of which, got the Geisley Tricon trigger. It's like actually no, I put that in a different build. We might talk about later. But this is the Lightning X.
Nice.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, dude, love that thing.
Yeah.
Super sweet trigger. Geisley trigger is just amazing. Going back to Clint's question, the optic of choice. I've got a T2 on here with an EOTech G33 3x magnifier. It's not like the end all be all for this rifle. It's just I'm testing it right now. I've been testing between the G33 and the G45. That's the 3x and the 5x magnifier.
Yeah, I'm,
see
I'm,
what I
I'm
like.
playing with that a little bit too.
Yeah,
You think
exactly.
you're gonna go,
Just
LPVO?
interesting. I might
You
go
think so?
LPVO. And kind of what you were talking about before, the LWRC,
Yeah.
what I've got running on there is a SIG Tango 116.
Yeah, the Tango 6. Is that one of our military runoffs?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, dude.
It
that
is.
Shit's badass.
And that's probably my favorite LPVO.
It's heavy.
And I
though.
might put that
It's
on there.
just heavy, man.
I think when you say you're playing with something, that brings up another point, which is that builds don't ever have to necessarily be done, right?
Right.
Like, you know, they're a constantly evolving thing, and it's going to change depending on your experience, your preference, what type of shooting you're into right now. So, you know, you can definitely take a build and you start one place and then just keep it trucking.
Dude,
You're like,
anybody who's into cars listening right now, they'll understand what I'm saying. It's like a
Yes.
project car. It's just never ending.
It's never done.
Yeah.
It's
Never.
never
and
done.
that's how I feel about these guns.
Yeah. The only one that I'm going to say that probably is done for me is my Mark 12. I don't think I'm going to touch anything on that Mark 12. I know it inside and out, and I've got
That's
it.
our long range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medium to long range. Like I said, that's my 800. That's my sub 1,000 5.56
Yeah.
gun. Sub, I would say better 800 yards.
Yeah.
You know, that's one I feel really good with on my Mark 12. But I'm not touching that. Not doing anything with it unless the only thing I might change out.
Oh.
I might go with the Otter Creek. That was it.
Oh,
Was it the
OCM
OCM
5.
5. Yeah, the OCM 5.
Yeah.
It is like the Mark 12 silencer. Without having to go Allen,
Redesigned.
without having to go through Allen Engineering and finding impossible to find and very expensive parts. And it's like, dude, Otter Creek Labs seems like they hit it. Right now, I've got a Surefire Surefire brake on it for my RC2, but that might be an Otter Creek gun before long.
Well, see, like I can imagine, like if you're doing like a retro build, right? Because
Yeah.
some people, there's a lot of people out there who really are into retro rifles and retro builds, and so if you're trying to do like a M16 A2 replica,
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, well, it's got to have a specific look to match what it was. You're unlikely to change a lot about that once you've achieved it,
Right.
because that's what you wanted to have. But as far as like your kind of go-to rifle, like you were talking about, I mean, you're going to have a constantly evolving, idea of what's the best bet for what I want on it right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like my Mark 18 too has pretty much stayed the same, except I recently did just want to try it out and see what it was like, and I threw out in the Huckworks muzzle device.
Yeah.
Finally, I was able to get that muzzle device that I haven't taken off since I pretty much had the gun. I finally got that thing off of there, and it was a Surefire closed time war comp, and I still have it. I'm still probably going to throw another Surefire muzzle device on it because I just love the aesthetic of that, But there is something to be said about the Flow 5.56K and how much little gas you get back into the system especially on a shorty DI gun, and especially one of the older Mark 18s. Like they gassy cool. So.
Last thing I want to say about this before moving on to yours, because I want to hear about your build. That thing looks gorgeous over there. Last thing, Psionics MP3 BCG.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so that MP3 BCG is incredible. I mean, I haven't lubed this thing up once since getting it, and it's just been running. Exactly. Yeah,
it's one of those self-lubricating metals.
It is.
I was gonna say, like the MP15 that I mentioned earlier, like it's nothing special, nothing like this. I haven't cleaned it for years.
Yeah,
and it is bone dry, and I swear it keeps running. I don't know what's up with that gun, but it never stops.
It's just a good quality AR, It's just
Yeah.
made to run, and it's another one of those service type rifles that's going to be a little gassy, and so it's just gonna, as long as you got a good decent spring back here with a good buffer and gas coming into the system. I mean, the gun's gonna run. So
like Springco or Geisley Spring, both of those will work really well for that.
Yeah.
And another thing too, having a matched bolt and barrel.
Yeah.
That we've had issues in the past with
the spacing,
and we don't know what it was. Possibly could have been head spacing issue. Possibly could have been ammo issue. But since getting it properly head spaced, when I say head spaced, I mean the bolt to the barrel. No issues whatsoever.
Dude, and it's a sweet shooting gun. That ADM build of yours is fantastic. Yeah.
And a ripcord gas block. I want to shout those guys out because that gas block does not leak any gas, and I've only shot this thing suppressed from day one.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, out towards the end of the rail, closer to the muzzle, too, you got a hand stop there?
Yeah, I got an air sock, a hand stop.
Yeah.
So that's really, I mean, like in a SHTF situation, right? You don't know what you're going to be doing as far as like where you're going to be positioning stuff. That suppressor gets hot. That's just a little added safety measure, I should say, right? And then on top of that, it can also be used as like a barrier stop.
I was getting ready to say that because one thing I learned at the Surefire Turbo Nights shoot with Kyle Lamb was, dude, having a vertical grip to use to actually brace up against something actually really does make life a lot easier. And I mean, there were points where I was using the end of the rail that was kind of coming around the muzzle device, and to really brace up against something. But having either that hand stop there, a vertical grip a little bit further out, or whatever else you can find to just get a little bit of grab or purchase on, a barrier or whatever it is you're shooting around, makes life pretty easy too. So that's something that I like.
I don't think I've ever really thought about that. Yeah, so that's a good point.
If you look at some competition rifles, take a look at like the Fostex. They have that really aggressive rail. That's not made. I mean, yeah, sure, a little bit of it's made for looks, but it's also made so it can grab into whatever barrier you're at, so you can shoot around corners or whatever, or maintain a really close profile up against that barrier, and also you're really steady because those prongs dig into the wood or whatever it is that barrier is made out of. Those prongs dig in, and now you've got a really good bite on that, and you pull the trigger, and you're going to be nice and flat. I mean, it's just like bracing in Call of Duty.
Yeah, and I've actually, funny enough, when we go to the range, like Kaya,
or mounting,
especially Kaya, I've been going, it's like mounting, exactly. I've been trying to do that more, just to like kind of test it out, test myself and the gun.
Right, yeah, exactly. And who makes, again, the wrap around your rail?
Oh, that is Lunar Concepts.
That's right, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, it's actually got cuts on the bottom of it. You don't have to have the cuts for M-Lock in the bottom,
which
and
is
you
cool.
just line those up. And then my favorite part of it is not even obviously the fact that it mitigates heat. That's its whole thing. However, the paracord at the top of it
is built-in cable management.
Built-in cable management. They don't say that or anything, but that's just a little helpful tip.
That's awesome.
So what's great, I can just hear it in your voice, like there's like a level of pride and stuff about the rifle, because it is a really great put together, whole system. Everything seems to work together really well, and it just comes across how much you love it and how much you kind of have pride in the build.
I'll tell you this, Ryan, ever since he built this gun, he's like, I can't wait till we do a podcast so I can talk about it.
Well, I mean, there's also a certain level of pride. I've mentioned this so many times when it's, in different videos, like, hey, whenever you build your own rifle, hey, like buying one out of the box and throwing some stuff on it, yeah, that's cool and everything. But when you build from the ground up a stripped lower, some people are going to, be in the comment section. You just assemble it. You just put it together. Whatever, dude.
No.
Cool.
No.
Cool.
I don't agree with those people, not even for a second. exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So whatever you want to say, assemble, build, whatever, put together, play with your tactical Legos. It doesn't matter.
If you care that much,
yeah.
get training, get better with it.
Yeah.
That's my answer to
Exactly.
that. Seriously.
So anyway, when you build it
It's
from
a
the
tool.
ground up, though, I mean, you really do feel good when you take it to the range and you get everything timed just right. You get all the parts that need to collaborate and work together really well, like the buffer system and the gas system. Now all of a sudden, those are working really congruently together, and that this feels so good. And the gun doesn't blow up in your hands when you pull the trigger for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, it's a nice
very
thing.
important step
Yes.
there.
Yeah, you know, I mean, dude, it's a really satisfying feeling. So I totally get that. And having built a couple of ARs myself, not as many. I mean, how many have you built?
Probably like 24 or so.
Yeah, no, I maybe I've built half that.
I'm lucky enough that sometimes I get to put things together, for me personally, and sometimes it's
For work.
It's for work kind of stuff. So it's not all just for me, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. So, I mean, it is a really satisfying thing. So, if you get the opportunity and you can take your time, take as long as your wallet allows you to. You know, like, hey, just build from the ground up. Like, you know what? Maybe all I can afford today is the pistol grip. Maybe next time I can get the lower.
Real quick,
That's an
my
important
very
thing.
first AR build ever, I like to say I democratized it. So my birthday is close to another gift giving holiday, and so what I did was I said, everyone.
Aren't you classmates with Eugene Stone?
No. And so what I do is I sent everybody a list of parts, and I just asked everyone to buy me parts from the list. So for that way, because that's the great thing about building it is that you're buying all these separate parts. So if instead of dropping $1,000 on a rifle, well, I need a $15 part and a $30 part and a $100 part, and
I love that. Yeah.
So I
actually
democratized the
yeah.
expense.
It's a great idea.
That is pretty cool.
I could imagine Matt at his wedding, his like wedding registry.
wedding registry.
It's all gun parts.
Yeah. Now he's already married, but
yeah,
I'm
saying, when he did get married.
So I mean, there's like renew your vows, have a renewal vow registry. Who knows, man? And just that's when you throw the expensive stuff up there. That's when you say, hey, I'd like, and then you invite all your friends from the industry. You're like, hey, Auburn, I'd like a Float 556K. Hey, Andrew, I'd like a Surefire Scout Turbo.
They say that when you get married, you should write an invitation to as many rich people as you can find addresses for, because they will sometimes send stuff, even if it's just a letter saying.
I think somebody said that Bill Gates' office. Somebody sent him a wedding invitation. He didn't have the time to do it. And he thought maybe somebody was that they knew. And the secretary just said, send him a check for $1,000.
Yeah, right.
And it's like,
so
okay, cool, I
maybe
can't
you
make
should
it.
try that. Just like if you're getting
Wow.
married,
All right.
just start sending out notifications
Random-
to gun industry people.
We'd be honored. I mean, we here at Classic have had wedding invitations like, hey, my husband watches you guys so much, figured you were part of the family. Here's your invite. I'm like, dude, I honestly wish I could. I don't know if it'd be awkward if I showed up with guns, but I feel like that's how you know me, so maybe I should. But maybe the rest of your family won't appreciate that. But no, I mean, if it was local, I'd totally show up because I'm always down for like free alcohol.
There was one where the bride was asking us to all come and like shoot guns like before the wedding.
Yes.
And we were trying to move mountains
To make that happen.
to make it happen.
Yeah.
And then we were like,
dude, is this a good idea?
yeah,
Like,
maybe we shouldn't, because it was like it just wouldn't work. But
yeah,
man,
I mean,
we tried.
we follow each other on Instagram now and everything too. We all follow each other. It's so funny,
That's
and
awesome.
we just couldn't. The timing, dude, it was so hard to just because obviously we're not at the top of the list for get the marriage invite or the wedding invite. You know what
Wait,
I mean?
what?
I mean,
So it was like a couple weeks out, and I was like, all right, how are we going to make this work? And Ben was like, I think this would be a good idea for a video. And I'm like, don't know about that. So, but anyway, continuing on with the builds, the assembled guns, the layouts and stuff like that. Yeah. So recently I acquired a few actually that are like on my bucket list. And the one that I'm going to be running, hopefully, each of these guns we're going to be running in either the tactical games or the proving grounds.
yeah.
Our separate builds and stuff like that. And we'll be doing another part to this when we talk about our AK builds, because we got to start looking at Kalash Bash and running the AK builds there and the competition that I think we're going to be running in. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, on mine, it is a base gun. It is a Daniel Defense M4A1 R3. We know that's the newer Daniels that have come out with the Ambidextrous controls, which do excite me. I've already given a little bit of criticism, hey, look, Daniel and I, we have a great relationship. I know the guys over there love them, and they also like my feedback, so it's not like, oh, hey, you got that gun, and now all of a sudden it's like you're talking crap about it. And it's like, no, I'm not talking crap. I'm just saying that I think the positioning of the Ambi control could be in a better spot. That's all, the Ambi bolt release. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I think I still really like it. It's similar to the LWRCI, similar to I can't remember the name of the manufacturer now that has it's ultimately imagine the standard AR bolt catch release, but on the right-hand side of the gun, just above the trigger, just before the magazine magazine release. But anyway.
LWRC, LMT.
LMT does, has another one that's really similar also. And it's kind of like, I like ADMs. I like SIGs pretty well. I really love the positioning on the CZ Brin too.
Yes.
Now some people, I think Kaya, you don't like it because it's inside the trigger guard.
Yeah, I don't want to put anything inside a trigger guard. I know the old school guns like the M1 Grand had the safety thing, which I think Matt's got a great point that, when you're getting off safety, you're going to press the trigger anyways, or you're going to get on the trigger. But for me, like manipulating anything inside a trigger guard, it just throws me off because that finger needs to be off trigger anywhere near that trigger until you're ready to press the trigger, right? So I don't, that is a big no for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking of multiple like old school designs, Italian SMGs and stuff that you had to pull the trigger just to load the gun.
Oh, dude, right. You know what I learned? I need there was a street sweeper that shotgun that weird
street sweeper.
Yeah, I actually
You have to say it with an accent.
You have to.
Sweeper.
Street sweeper. Street sweeper.
Street sweeper.
That's it, dude.
I know gangsta. But no, I was in Quantico, so we're actually getting this training about all these different guns. So we were trained to clear and identify certain guns, and there's hundreds of these different guns. And there's this shotgun, which looks really cool, right? This big, like round drum-like thing, whatever. And none of us could figure out how to make it safe.
It's not made to be safe.
No, we learned. Here's the thing. You grab this gun. You can't see if it's loaded at all. You literally have to pull the trigger to be able to make the gun safe without knowing if it is. I was like, wait, this makes no sense. They're like, yeah.
Street sweeper.
Street sweeper.
Yeah, literally, it was
that
insane.
sounds like a street sweeper, yeah.
But yeah, that came to
Forget your
mind.
safety.
It lives up to the name.
Right.
Yeah, just because it was designed and made and manufactured, whatever, doesn't mean it's right. Trigger guard.
Well, like I said, I love the CZ Brin 2's placement, and it's so intuitive. It's not like it takes a lot of pressure, so whenever you want to run that thing, you can do it. But it's also enough resistance to where you're not going to accidentally actuate it if you got the bolt lock to the rear for ceremonial or whatever. But anyway, so all that just to say the magazine release on the left-hand side of the gun feels great. Love that. No complaints whatsoever. The bolt catch release is awesome. I give it like a 8 out of 10. I'd say I give it the ADM, let's just be honest, I actually give it about a 9.5 out of 10, simply because
Can't be satisfied.
Well, no, I can't be satisfied. If I call it perfect, then that means somebody won't make an improvement, and there's always improvements to be made.
I 100% agree with that.
So, but I will say it is damn close to perfection. The only problem is I've noticed every now and then if you lift up to lock the bolt to the rear when you pull it back, it sometimes pinches me. It sometimes grabs me, and I don't have that problem with like the Daniel release or the Daniel catch. I don't have the problem with the LWRC or any of the other ones that are like that. It was just the ADMs that got me a couple of times, and I think again it could be user error. I'm just moving too quick. Imagine that, but it's something that I've gone through.
Fat fingers,
dude. They're not right.
And I really like the press though. Like for me, like lifting up and down. Not saying that's bad.
Yeah.
But my preference is like a system that I can press.
Yeah.
Press down, press hold.
Yeah.
Press
Well,
down,
it's more natural to what the AR is because there's nothing. There's no switches other than the safety.
Yeah.
Everything else is buttons,
Yes.
right? So I get that. It makes sense. I mean, even the forward assist is a button.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's just start at the back end here. So just as the gun comes, I have not switched out the trigger yet. Have not switched out the pistol grip yet. But the buffer tube remains. Everything else I'll talk about. Everything else is mil spec on it and all that stuff. B5 system, SOP mod stock. You guys know I love that so much. Tech 10 sling. I think this is the Echo sling. It's actually a little bit lighter material. I don't know if you've felt this, and I was talking with Paul of Tech 10 recently.
Oh,
he's got something.
I would like that.
Oh, he's got
'cause
something.
the other one is
just you wait. He's got something new coming out.
I love Paul.
That's being. He told me I'm not allowed to talk about it. I'm like, okay, but let's just say there are some .mil.gov agencies taking a look at what he's producing next. I mean, they already use quite a bit of this anyway, but he's got some cool stuff on the horizon.
Yeah.
Anyway, no timeline for that, unfortunately. But continuing on, yes, Geisley supercharging handle, or the, what's it called again? Is it the Aero?
Mine's the Airborne.
Airborne, that's what it is. Yeah. Airborne charging handle. I just always forget that. Continuing right on top, I do have the Trijicon ACOG with an RMR mounted to the top. Now, some people are probably going to be like, why do you have an ACOG that is battery operated? It's, dude, where's the tritium, bro? And here's a really simple answer for you. The only ACOGs that come with the RMR mount on the top and forward mounted are the battery operated ones, because you would have to have the fiber optic on top in order for the tritium and the fiber optic to work together like they do. And I do not like the positioning of the RMR closer to the lens, to the optical lens.
Couldn't agree more.
I don't like it being closer to the back of the optic where I'm at, where my eye is. It just, my field of view is too obscured, things like that, and it's just not as good. Having that a little bit more forward mounted, I mean, think about it. Typically, you like your red dots over the ejection port anyway. That's getting me as close to the ejection port without having to throw like a 45-degree cant or something like that on there, which I don't mind, you know, but they also have their setbacks. I want this to be a little bit more streamlined with as less stuff hanging off of it as possible as we move a little bit forward up. But that's that. So Trijicon ACOG with the LaRue Tactical QD mount on it. That's the RCO mount for the Marines QD. So on the left-hand side it says Simplify. You know, it's a little.
That's nice.
It's cute.
Funny enough, that was the first optic I ran on this.
Oh,
I
was
first
it?
got it.
Yeah.
It was an RCO,
Yeah.
specific ACOG, and but it was rear mounted RMR, and I was like,
it's all right. It's just too close. I like the forward mount. Anyway. Like I said, the trigger, I've got it. I already got a single stage. Is it their Super Semi-Auto? I think it is. Just a real clean, crisp trigger. That'll be going in there, unless I change my mind in the meantime. So I'm sure we'll do a part 2 to this. Continuing up forward, nothing else really all that fancy, you know, in between here and there. I do actually have Daniel's vertical grip. I don't mind it. I kind of like how kind of narrow, skinny it is. I don't, you know, do a full grip on it. I kind of do this like hybrid angled foregrip / C-clamp / whatever the hell, you know, so that's typically what I do. That doesn't mean I won't throw a BCM on it or something else like that, you know, maybe soon. The pistol grip on it, like I said, as of right now, I'm probably going to switch it out to probably one of the Driven Arms Co. That we recently got, because those grips do feel really good. I love my B5 systems, don't get me wrong, but I want to try something new too, because if I just keep going with the same old thing over and over again, then what's fresh coming from me to you guys? So speaking of Driven Arms Co. and fresh, I do have the Surefire Turbo Light and also the PEC-15, the Adipol C, the civilian model. Don't like it.
yeah.
But it's what I have. I like the aesthetic. I like the way it looks. But it's not an impressive IR laser, visible laser, and IR illuminator. The civilian model, it's not full power. You can't even adjust the... you can't adjust for windage and elevation of the IR illuminator. So let's say you want your IR laser and your visible laser to be on target, right? So you've got that zeroed now, but your IR illuminator isn't zeroed because it's just fixed in one position. So let's say it's hanging off the target to the left, and it's like, well, that's kind of useless. I don't think it's that bad personally, because typically it's more of a close quarters thing. What I'm thinking about doing is actually taking this off, putting it on my Mark 18, taking my D-Ball A3, throwing it on here.
I agree with that 100%.
Yep.
I feel like EOTech was like, hey, just be happy we gave you this.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. For a okay price. I mean, it's still a $1,500 piece, I think. So there's that. Now, something else too about
I could build 3 rifles for that. Just throwing that out.
Matt's like, I have.
Yeah.
I have
3 rifles for that.
So continuing on, though, I talked about Driven Arms Co., and they have this device called the Dangler, which is really, really cool. So if you like pressure pads and all that type of stuff, I know there's quite a few people out there that don't, that rather have that tactile push button. I do have that option on my Surefire Turbo Light over here, and the reason I decided to go turbo, higher candela. This is a 14.5 pendant weld. I might be engaging at different distances and also out to distance. I'd like to be able to have a higher candela instead of higher lumen.
Yeah.
That's it. And the reason I have the push button angled where I have it is because the pressure pad I have, the mod button is off to the left-hand side of the gun. The 12 o'clock position is for the laser. And so that way, if I'm going weak hand or shooting in my non-dominant hand, I can still activate the push button with my dominant right thumb, and I can access the light from both ways, and I don't have to worry about being without it if I'm going to my non-dominant shoulder.
Nice.
Makes sense. A
That's
lot of
great idea.
forethought there.
Yeah, well, again, dude, I like I said, when I ran that course with Kyle Lamb, I learned a lot. I learned that having a push button tail cap is it's not even a question. It's necessary. it's
100%.
necessary, So granted, I thank Surefire for giving us the tail caps, that just have that they make available, if you're just going to have
Just the lead go in.
just a lead go in, no push button. That's fine, especially if you're running a 12 o'clock pressure pad like what you are, right? Then that's great, and you don't have a bunch of other crap hanging off your gun like I do. Then cool, that is actually pretty easy to get to either way. So I do appreciate that one option that I have on my Mark 18, which has both buttons for the laser, for the light, and at the 12 o'clock position.
SR07?
I think that is the 07.
That's this one, yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, I still have the push button.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah,
good to have
'cause
a
you do.
failsafe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's a pretty solid setup. But the dangler is super cool because if you use Mod Light and you use their mod buttons, you've got a Mod Light light on yours, right?
I do,
Yeah.
PLH V2.
Yeah. And so the mod buttons are a little bit smaller. They're definitely, whoops, hitting the light or the mic. But you have to have them pretty much positioned right where you want them to be. You don't want to be searching or feeling for them or something like that. But the cable management rail cover, the M-Lock rail cover from Driven Arms Co. is incredible. I love goon tape and using that stuff. I've got a goon tape, around my mags to identify which ones are mine and stuff like that. But I love goon tape. Don't mind zip ties. But this is just so clean.
It is.
The Driven Arms Co. M-Lock cable management rail cover just looks good, looks clean, and it has these little avenues and valleys in the actual rail cover so you can manage that cable. You can kind of route it through there.
I love products that serve multiple purposes.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's
Yeah.
one of the biggest things. And Driven Arms Co. and Emissary Development
Yeah.
are doing that with, I would say, almost all their products.
Right.
It's impressive to see.
Yep. And then, of course, right up front, now I did mention that this is a 14.5 pin and weld M4A1. Now, the M4A1 differs, and we've got that video coming out if it's not already out. We talk about the DDM4 V7 versus the M4R3 versus the M4A1 R3 because there are differences. And one of the differences is this has the heavier profile barrel, but it is 14.5, and it does come pin and weld with like their A2 flash hiders. So, Daniel, you heard me already gripe about that. So what did your boy do? Got a hold of one and threw a Huxworks on it because I have a guy.
And mid-length gas system, right?
That's a huge thing. Not only is it a heavier profile, so yes, it is a slightly heavier gun, but it also does have the mid-length gas system in it. This is the softest shooting, other than my Mark 12, softest shooting Daniel Defense I've ever shot, and it feels great, especially with the Flow 556K on there. And if you wanted to remove that and have a little bit shorter, a little bit lighter gun, you can have that, and it just feels. I think it looks amazing. I think they did a phenomenal job with it, and that's ultimately my my loadout right now. So there you have it.
I have the same muzzle device. I want to say one thing too.
Yeah.
So you have a 14.5.
I do.
So that actually pushes it out to 16 inches pin and
does.
weld. On a 13.9, you can't do that
Yeah.
with the regular Huxworks.
But they make a elongated boy.
They do just for this. So it exactly pushes a 13.9 to 16 inches.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone out there is wondering.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's what you've got on yours.
That's what I got in mind.
Yeah, exactly. So
No, I'm just breaking the law.
yeah. Breaking the law.
You just admit it on
Definitely
camera.
not. Definitely not.
So I feel a little bad because I don't have anything for show and tell like the rest of you guys. I do want to go over. I think I'd like to go over my SVR build real quick, so I can just kind of talk about it a little bit and paint you a mental picture. If you're listening, the effect is the same. If you're watching, you'll just have to imagine along with us. So it is a 9mm with a CMMG upper. So what I really liked about the CMMG upper is that it's got that radial delayed blowback. So it's not direct blowback. There's no gas system for like a normal AR, but it does help slow down the opening of that bolt. So there's a softer recoil impulse and just a lot less kind of gas coming back into the system. At the front, it's got a Sylvan Arms 9mm compensator that they came out with. It's got a CMMG ambidextrous charging handle. I am left-handed. I think I'm the only left-handed person here. So some of the
I just heard discussion. Alec yelling out there that.
So some of the discussion of
No, he's not here.
ambidextrous
Yeah,
controls
exactly.
is kind of interesting. Obviously, you can always have to go to a non-dominant hand shooting, so it's still an important thing on a firearm. But over the course of my life shooting ARs, I just always had to adapt to a right-handed AR, so there are certain things that I don't really worry about. So I don't look for like a right side bolt release or something. Actually, Ryan turned me on to something that's really cool, which was the maritime bolt release from Geisling. And so it's just basically enlarges the areas in which you can engage or disengage your bolt catch. So I run that in basically all of my ARs now because it's so fantastic. I can just swivel my trigger hand up and hit either one of those pads very easily. I do love an ambidextrous safety, so the safety actually came with the trigger. I have a trigger from Franklin Armory in that. probably enough said about that trigger. But one of the cool things, it's built on just an Anderson lower receiver, so nothing special there. But it's got a Sylvan Arms folding adapter, so
Ooh, nice.
the buffer tube does fold to the side, makes a short boy even shorter, and it's got an Arrow H2 buffer in it. Again, just want to slow that bolt opening down a little bit since it is still a type of blowback action. Going to the rear, I think it is also a B5 stock on that, and then
The odd one out.
think I am. I have a sling on it. I'm trying to remember. I think I am running a Vickers, like a blue 4-skier sling.
Nice.
On that,
I do love those slings.
You know, I definitely wanted something single point. It's designed to kind of be like a very small package you can fit into kind of a backpack size thing, and you can pull it out, flip the stock out, and then you're ready to engage. For an optic, I don't have all of the lights and the pecs and everything on there right now. It's just rocking a red dot. It is a Vortex Venom that's on a riser, so it kind of brings it up, and backup mag pull iron sights.
You've brought that to the range a couple times.
I have.
Yeah,
It is
because we've shot that thing, and it's
super fun.
It is a
it's
lot
amazing.
of fun. Yeah, it's a fantastic little build.
Yeah. I also want to talk about how you can learn things about building one thing and realize that you could have done better. So, like when I built the 6.5 Grendel, I used a 16-inch CBC barrel, and I definitely have realized that I think I need to go to like an 18-inch barrel or something to really get more of that long distance potential out of the 6.5 Grendel cartridge. I mean,
You want to make a 6.5 Grendel Mark 12. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That does actually sound really cool.
That does. Oh, yeah.
I mean, and then like right now it's got, I'm a pretty big fan of Vortex. No, not sponsored by Vortex, but I have a Spark on there right now. I think I'd like to go to something like an 18-inch barrel, maybe put a Spitfire on there. So it's got the magnification,
Right.
If not an LVPO.
LVP.
LPVO.
Low variable power optic.
Listen,
I mean, it works. I mean, it works.
Sometimes, you just, anyway, but yeah, so that one, again, I think that's just built on an Anderson reset. Again, guys, I play in the cheap end of the pool. Just throwing that out there. Don't come for me.
Well, there's cheap and then there's affordable. All right.
Well, okay, well,
I feel that way about Anderson, a little bit. I'm just saying their stuff. All right, you work in the warehouse.
Yeah.
How many returns have we had on Anderson products?
I mean, practically none unless it's shipping damage.
So,
and the way
I'm not going to ask about anybody else.
And the way
Let's end that.
and the way I look at it is, I mean, the lower receiver, I'm not, obviously you need an inspect lower and stuff, but the lower is a box that you put parts into. And what those parts are matter way more than who made that box.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
I
my
would say the
personal
upper
opinion.
receiver is where you really
Now-
need to pay attention.
So
Now-
this is a good topic. So let's talk about what makes, what's the heart of the gun, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can talk
I have
about
my opinion.
Yeah, I mean the heart of the gun. Well, you got to think what keeps it ticking, and then you got the gas system. I would say everything in the upper receiver matters. Everything in the upper receiver matters and more than anything in the lower receiver.
To me, it's lower all day long.
Really? Okay.
Because without that lower, you're not doing anything. The upper is doing nothing.
Well, without the upper, what is the lower going to
Exactly. But I'm just saying. Well, if you talk about it, the heart of the gun is the gun.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
My rhetorical question, or you can answer it, is where is the explosion happening?
In my pants.
You know what?
Sorry. All right. Cut. I'm sorry.
No, that's going.
All right. So you asked-
Also, we need to try to wrap it up a little bit.
I'll answer to that. Whenever you press that trigger,
That's not where it's
I
happening.
know
though.
it's happening up there, but it's happening
so
by
You're
that
saying
trigger.
the feel of the gun is in the lower.
As a caveat
Yes.
to what Clint said, he said nothing in the lower. Well, so I'm not going to say nothing. The trigger is your interface point, right?
Grip, trigger, the lower
So
end.
I would say that,
We can mention the buffer. Yeah, that's also pretty important. But I'm just saying.
I don't think there's any
upper
wrong
receiver.
answers here.
but I would agree that if you're going to spend money, and you had to limit what you're spending it on, barrel, bolt, those make sense. I would say the trigger's next, and then after that, we're getting less and less important things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's how
I
I
look
feel
at it
too.
as like
Yeah.
manipulation. Like I want to have that right grip, good grip, the controls on the lower, the trigger, because I understand. Of course, upper is extremely important, but for me, if I can't manipulate that properly or effectively, then who cares how good of a material the upper is?
So that actually reminds me. I also want to mention one more part on my SVR, which is the Troy Industries grip. It's a super great 90-degree angle, kind of. It's very vertical, and I just love the feel it gives me. So yeah, I want to throw that.
I'm a fan of that too. Yeah.
I feel like a barrel bolt and a free floating rail.
Yeah.
Those are the three things that matter
Very,
to me.
very expensive, very important, and they can be very expensive.
They can
I mean,
depend.
the barrel, I mean, sometimes is looked at as probably the most expensive part. Can be, you know, I mean, you can also find very cheap barrels. You know,
I've built a ton
and
of them.
And I
Yeah.
can, I do mean the word cheap. So, you know, there you have it. But hey, let us know down in the comment section, you know, rate our builds, because guess what? We're going to be rating your builds very, very soon.
Oh.
That's right. So make sure you're following us on Instagram at Classic Firearms Official, because tag us in
That's
your
right.
builds, because we're going to start a series called Bust Your Builds, and I think at least once a quarter we need to bring back mean comments. Kaya's given us great ammunition there. So we need to bring back mean comments. We got to
Dude,
start
there
this
is-
Bust Your
there
Builds.
is about, like I was telling Ryan, 5 to 7 guys consistently in every video.
Those are
They're
super
just-
fans. Those are super fans,
Super
because
haters.
if they're in every single video, they're watching, and they're the same guys that'll probably say, if I'm not watching another video until Kaya's gone, and guess what they're going to do? Go to the very next video
Yes.
and
And
comment the same
like
thing.
it.
Thank you for the engagement.
Dude,
Just
and
remember,
I
there
was
is no negative
You're not wrong,
publicity.
though.
It's
Bro,
just
I was looking
publicity.
at it. I was like, wait a minute. There is like, what? Every video, fine. But holy crap! I clicked on it, and you know it shows you like how many comments that they made. Kayak, let him go.
Kayak.
Like, it's like,
Dude.
I mean, just same freaking people, same people. It's just funny.
So
By the
I
way-
thought the kayak thing was funny until I was actually typing kayak on my phone, and it auto-corrected to kayak, and I was like, I really understand it even that much more now.
I get it now. I get it that much more. I thought it was intentionally. Like,
Yeah,
so I was
exactly.
just like, no, it's
they're
just a
that
typo.
dumb. Those people are that dumb.
Listen, as we learn, like you could put our names on the screen as much as you want. People still misspell them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. When Katie was here, she found that out.
Alec,
Alec. Oh yeah. How many different ways can you spell
Alex.
Alec? Yeah, that was funny. But anyway, so tag us in your builds, because we want to bust them. And that's what we're going to call it, that series, Bust Your Builds. And if you want to type up mean comments here, you can. I'm sure Kaya loves reading them. You know.
if
So.
you're going
I
to tag
just-
us, have some thick skin about it. Like take it, you know, in the vein that it's meant. So
As the name implies, we're going to be
Dude,
pretty
they
harsh
gotta
on 'em.
understand.
Oh, yeah.
I was on the street cop for years. People looked at me right in the face
You were
and
a
called
cop?
me every single name.
Wait, were you in the FBI? I don't.
No, that's not true.
did you solve crimes?
No, I created them.
So-
No, that's not true. But no,
Now,
seriously,
wait a minute. Hold on. Now this is a whole. We ain't
No,
got
no,
time for
wait,
this.
wait, wait.
We ain't got time for this.
they literally they gotta understand. Like people cussed at my face
Yeah.
every day at work, like nonstop. I mean, you better have some thick skin, or else you're not gonna make it. You'll be on YouTube. So I was able to survive the streets. I think the comment section, I'll be fine.
He's like, I was this close and being on down to operator. So close.
So close.
The wrong kind
man.
of guest star.
Maybe I was. There's no video. Yeah.
Well, guys, like I said, tag us in your builds, because we're going to bust them. And from there, I think that's about it, really. Let us know what you guys think. If you could offer any advice, improvements on anything that we've talked about, comment down below. And that's only if, of course, you're watching on YouTube. If you're just listening to us, thank you for all of our listeners. We really appreciate you guys. And hopefully the CF podcast just continues to grow, as you guys have helped it to do so much. And we will talk to you guys next time. God bless. See you soon.